Hello, hello. Today I will be starting up a new series where I'll be showing you how to beat every boss in Elden Ring, at least every important boss in Elden Ring throughout your journey so that you too can go through Elden Ring and beat all the bosses. The purpose of this series is to show that you can beat each boss without overpowered items and to help newer players with beating Elden Ring bosses. So, let's get into it. So we'll be going to the very first thing when starting the game, which will be picking which kind of character you want, your class. So I would probably recommend going either Vagabond or Warrior, as they do have pretty low intelligence, faith, and arcane, which you don't really use at the beginning of the game, and it's more something you build into. And I'd say the Vagabond has a better stat spread, but the Warrior will have better items. And if your worry is about what you want to build into later, like you have a specific build in mind or a certain weapon you want to use, well, luckily the classes have a pretty good variety in what you need. So if you don't need a lot of strength, but need a lot of dexterity and arcane, like maybe you're planning on building into Rivers of Blood or something, you can pick Bandit. And it's just etc, etc. For the rest of the classes, it could really be for anything. So for this run, I'm just going to be going the Wretch just to prove that it really doesn't matter. And it's really just like knowing how to beat the bosses that is important. I'll also be mentioning things throughout the run just to make sure that you guys know how I got to where I am. So yeah, I'll be picking the Wretch. His name will be No Skill, and there will be this selection for keepsakes, which is basically just a starting item you get at the beginning of the game. And these items basically give you a jump start into whatever you want. If you want better stats, you can go into the Crimson Amber Medallion for some more HP. If you want to be able to buy things immediately, you could go through you can grab the Lands Between rune, just so you can buy more things at the beginning of the game. You can go the Golden Seed so that you heal more with your flask. You can go the Fanged Imp Ashes, which will be handy later on whenever you're able to summon ashes. The Cracked Spot can be for a few things. I don't know, maybe you can make a firebomb or something with it. The Stone Sword Key will be used to unlock certain doors, so you might want to pick this up if you just want to be able to unlock things immediately. The Bewitching Branch can be used to get some low tier enemies on your side. The Boiled Prawn will let you take less damage from enemy attacks, and the Shabriri's Woe will actually attract enemies' aggression, making them more hostile towards you. This talisman mostly has use in co-op scenarios in order to draw attention away from the host, so I wouldn't worry about this one too much, unless you like playing this game co-op. I would just recommend going the Crimson Amber Medallion, since the hard part of this game is just the fighting aspect of the game, so that would make it easier to do fights and whatnot, and will help you with bosses as well. So I'd probably recommend the Crimson Amber Medallion for the most health. That is probably, out of all of this, the most helpful at the beginning of the game, but I will be going with none just to prove that I can do this without any of it. Alright, now that we have our handsome boy, I will go ahead and start the run, and I will mention things as they come up. Alright, so immediately for the first boss, if you didn't know, when they spawn, you could literally just jump off the edge here. And that will skip the fight, so you don't have to fight them. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, you can fight them, but, like, this just saves some time, so I'm just gonna go through this. Alright, so the technical first boss of the game will be Soldier of Godric. You don't actually have to really think too much in this fight. You just kind of hit him until he dies. And don't get hit too much. This is more of a tutorial boss, so he's not too hard. And basically the only reason why you fight him is just for some extra runes. So this is a guide to help with bosses specifically, so I won't be going over too much with the game itself, although I would love to, but for now I'm just going to go to the Groveside Cave and I'm just going to go fight this Beastman over here. Yeah, if I ended up covering little bosses like this all the time, I would probably never finish this series. But maybe in the future I can make little quick guides for stuff like this. So if that's something you want to see in the future, just let me know in the comments below. Yeah, I basically just do stuff like that for runes, just so I can get some armor for myself, and that's basically it. If you choose any of the other starting classes, they'll actually have armor, so I wouldn't really worry about that if you actually started with a good class, but for me, I'm going to be doing this kind of stuff just for some extra money. I would definitely recommend some exploration, as that does make your journey easier as you go. And I actually lied, I'm not going to be putting my runes to get better armor, I'm just going to level up my health for now. I would definitely recommend exploring some caves and whatnot, as they do sometimes have a good bit of smithing stones for you to acquire, which will help you get better weapons, which is definitely a good thing. I would also recommend beating the bosses to some caves, because some of the bosses to caves will have, will drop like bell bearings and whatnot. And you'll definitely want those for later to upgrade your weapons. You really just want those smithing stone bell bearings. Also, if you're struggling against some of the hardened enemies of the caves, just two-hand your weapon and your attacks will go right through them, and that's basically all you need. So that boss actually dropped a medallion, but yeah, you'll want to go through caves because the smithing stones are nice. And you'll eventually want to come over here so you can talk to Roderica, which you'll definitely need in order to unlock some spirit ashes later on, which will be handy for boss fights for sure. I won't be using them, at least for the first few. Just to make it harder on myself, just to show that you don't need them, but they will come in handy for sure later on. And yeah, sometimes just fighting random enemies is nice, just so you can get their weapons and armor. Like there, I just got that Godric Soldier Helm. Alright, so we're already almost at Margit. He's literally just over there. So I'm going to grind a little bit just to get some better armor, therefore I can fight him a bit easier and just level up a bit as well. It's mostly just because I think Margit's a bit harder than Godric is. Once we get to Godric, it'll be pretty simple for me, but for now I'm going to make sure I have some armor and actually be a little more suited to fight him. I'll still not be using the Spirit Ashes, but I will still want some armor, so I will just be doing that, and then we'll be on to Margit. In this game, wearing armor is much better than not wearing armor, so I would recommend that you do. I would also recommend exploring the world more than I am. I am just kind of cutting straight to the boss just because I know I can. But if you do struggle exploring the world more, just the more you explore, the more runes you'll gather, the more items you'll get, and the easier it will be for you. And also, if you go back to where Kale was at this fire over here, oh, I wanted to call it a bonfire, it's a site of grace actually. So yeah, if you go to this site of grace where Kale is, you'll actually meet Reyna the Witch, and she'll give you the Spirit Calling Bell, which will allow you to call spirits, which will make your game a lot easier when fighting bosses. I also recommend coming back here so that you can go ahead and use this hammer over here to upgrade your weapons. But yeah, that's basically all the preparation I'll need, so let's get on to it. But yeah, just so you guys know, this game is very big, and there are a ton of places for you to explore, and if you ever get lost, don't be afraid to look them up online, just like where to go next and whatnot, as this game can get very confusing. I would just recommend going to a couple caves. Maybe I would try definitely Limgrave tunnels just to get some smithing stones and some extra runes, and after that you just kind of go throughout and just make sure that you've got everything you can. That will make it easier for you, just to make sure that you can fight Margit. And just make sure you level up your vigor first, as I do believe that is the most important thing to level up at the beginning of the game. Alrighty, so I've made it. I have a full set of armor, I have a +2 club, I have the Roar Medallion, which is actually really handy with the club, which uses the Barbaric Roar. It actually increases the damage I get from Barbaric Roar, so that's a nice combo if you ever were playing the Wretch for whatever reason and you hate your life, but it'll be handy for me. One thing I would like to know is that this is like my favorite introduction to any character in like any Dark Souls game. Like, this is my favorite introduction. Margit is so good. Yeah, Margit's an awesome character. But I'm just gonna buff here and just watch out for his jumping attack. That is very hard to... That is a very easy to dodge attack, however it could hurt. For a lot of Margit, I would recommend just sticking next to him. His left side until he pulls out the blade. Once he pulls out his blade and you see that light, I'll just move back a bit, as he will either shoot a short-range projectile or just like a little stab. That will be pretty quick, but you can manage it once you just see that he's pulling it out. Overall, he is pretty slow, so I just recommend sticking to him. Make sure you have enough healing for this fight. So I'd recommend to get those golden seeds whenever possible. And yeah, he does just do this attack a lot, which is very easy to avoid. You just stay next to him, you can bash him while he's doing it. Now we're on to phase 2. So he's going to pull out the big hammer, which is going to make it a bit harder and mix up his attacks. He's also going to use his golden light more, which is just faster attacks in general, and this is where this fight actually does get hard. The hammer attacks are pretty easy. I'll just watch for the cane. Yeah, that right there. That attack in particular is very hard to avoid, but that attack at the end there is pretty easy. But it does just keep going sometimes. You just have to watch out for it. And just wait till he's actually done moving, and then you could attack him. Yeah, just when you see the big hammer, or just basically any light, just back up and just wait for him to be done. But he does typically end his attacks with the golden light attacks. But yeah, don't be afraid to take this fight slow and just wait for certain attacks that you know you can punish, as that is the easiest way to basically beat any of the bosses. It just takes some experience of like going through all the moves. But sometimes you can sneak in a couple hits and be a little aggressive. But you know, for this fight in particular, I like to be a bit slow, because I actually do find him to be kind of hard for where he is in the game. Come here, right now. That's fine. Die, idiot! Die! Oh man. Camp the camper, bro. You. Get out of here. Actually, the easiest fight ever. He had no chance. Oh my goodness, actually that fight was so hard. Alright, so if you didn't notice, I did go ahead and get myself a shield. That was mostly just to be able to deal with his attacks at times, and then I kind of did drop the idea. I decided that roaring and then two-handing the club was actually more damage, so that was the strat that I went with. Now, I do not recommend doing what I just did and basically going straight to Margit. You can explore so much of the map and get so many levels and runes and items and cool stuff all across the map here. You know, there's so much stuff around here, especially this area that you haven't unlocked. This is more like Caelid, you don't want to go here yet, but like this entire area I could have explored, and then there's a whole nother area down here that you can explore as well before even going to Margit. So I would definitely recommend doing that. You'll have like 40 more levels than I do, and it will be so much easier. Also, I do not recommend the club. It's short range, it does lack sometimes. It just makes it really hard to like deal with him at times. So like sometimes you just need a little bit of extra range just so you can like get out of his attacks. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck on him for so long. You have to stick with him the entire time. So I would recommend for the first phase, be patient though. He does like to camp you a lot in the first phase, but for the second phase, he will like non-stop start attacking you, and you'll just have to learn his attacks. I would recommend to stick to his side, and I would just go to his right side for the most part, and just learn his attacks. You'll get there eventually, and if you have much better stuff than I do, you might not even need to learn that much. Just, you should be sticking to him. Hello, Future Frawgue here, and I'm going to talk about some moves in Margit's moveset that you'll want to watch out for. Now, the first phase doesn't really have too much to watch out for. I would just recommend to stick by his side. That'll be his left side and your right side. That's his weak spot, so you'll want to stick there. And other than that, just play it patient, because in first one, he can just chip you down if you're not careful. But yeah, the hard part will be when he enters his second phase. You'll know it's his second phase when he brings out his hammer for the first time, and he also hits you with a sick one-liner. The first attack you should watch out for is the attack where he brings out both his hammer and his cane to hit you at the same time with him. What I recommend to do when you see this move is to try to time your roll late so as to dodge both the cane and the hammer hitboxes, but it is a bit more lenient because you want to roll to his side, as that will remain his weak spot for this attack as well. Another thing you'll want to watch out for is just his string of attacks, especially his magic sword, as he does get more move options with it, and it has a longer range than his magic knife that he uses in the first round. When you do start seeing his chain of attacks, I honestly just recommend to back off and wait for him to finish. So yeah, basically the whole game plan for the second phase is to avoid the sword attacks and weave in some hits for some of the easier moves to avoid. And yeah, that's pretty much everything on Margit. All the difficulty for me was literally just being level 17. But yeah, basically as a summary, I would just recommend getting as many runes as possible, level up a bunch, get a bunch of items, make sure your Estus flasks are fully, oh not Estus flasks, what the hell are they calling this? Your flasks with Crimson Tears are fully, or as upgraded as possible, you have as many as possible. Make sure you level up your vigor a good bit. And yeah, this fight should be a piece of cake if you've explored enough. It's just I didn't, and this was just to prove that you do not need all this stuff to even fight these. Like, I even did this in a shield only run, and yeah, I beat Margit. I beat Morgott now. That's how far I've been in the shield run so far. And yeah, but the thing is, for the shield run, when I got to Margit, I was like 40 levels above where I am now. So I would recommend exploring, just playing the game a bit before getting to this point, but you don't need to, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to give it a like, comment down below if you do want to see some other like boss tips and tricks and whatnot, and yeah, just let me know how you feel about it. But yeah, that'll be it for this one. You have a good one. Bye bye.